Something happened there recently that was bigger or out of the ordinary?
Well, we had a tropical storm at the beginning of the week.
Maybe that was it.
It exactly coincided with the beginning of our outdoor fitness offerings.
Oh, wonderful.
Other than that, it's hard for me to say. Honestly, I've been buried, so I don't know what's happening.
What did you guys do with the outdoor fitness offerings?
We had to cancel the classes because right now our limitations are we can only have 9 participants. They have to be 10 feet apart. So they're putting them on fields, and it basically has been either pouring or 50-mile-an-hour winds, and that's just not conducive.
Yeah. Wow. 9 person per class, 10 feet apart.
Yeah. So, and we're able to begin some lap swimming. So we're trying to make some of those things available too. And that's proven to be popular. We have waiting lists of equal to the number of lanes that are taken already.
Oh, nice. That's good. All right. Well, I think, we're right at 1:30. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm imagining there will be others that join, but during the time of COVID, acceptances are never a sure thing because something comes up almost every day for all of us, as you can all imagine. Welcome to the final May Open Wine Meetup. My name is Amber, and with us today we've got Sarah Baker, who I always want to call the Fabulous Baker Gal, based on some movie from the 90s, like the Fabulous Baker Boys. The Fabulous Baker Gal is going to lead us through some content wizardry and what she does under the hood with OpenY and some of the experiences that she's created. And the reason I wanted Sarah to do this is because she is probably one of the best technical marketers that we've got in the Y movement. And so not only does she have a good marketing and design eye, she understands how to make it happen behind the scenes. And so there is no better person to share with us today. So Sarah, take it away.
Alrighty, well, welcome everybody. And this meetup started based really on a conversation that I had sharing with Amber when I helped somebody who was like, hi, I'm with the State Alliance and I've been asked to build a site. It's being built on OpenY. I don't know what to do. And I've really found that I'm most often helpful to those who are in the beginning of their OpenY journey. And I know that there were a few people who were signed up who were going to be in that category. So I just thought I would start with the basics and some of the tools that I use. Hopefully there's time after for some Q&A and discussions. This truly is a meetup. So for most OpenY editors, the content area, when you're logged in, you'll see this toolbar at the top. And the content area is really where you spend most of your time on the site. And you'll be able to see the list of pages that already exist on your site. You'll also be able to add new content. You can come here and update content as needed. So to add content, there are a few different content types. And what I found is that we really rely on a few favorites to build our pages. So we use landing pages. That is what I use the most. We use the alert feature. Obviously, in a time of COVID-19, we use the alert feature quite a lot. We also use branch and camp when we have a new location that is opening. We use programs and program subcategories, and then we use web forms pretty heavily, and we're beginning to use web forms for user experience as well, not just lead generation. So one of the first things that you're going to want to do is determine what does this page need to accomplish? What am I trying to do here? What's the goal? Why is this page being created? Branch and camp pages on the site have some unique features that allow for contact information and hours of operation, and then they have some of the just general building blocks that you use to build all pages. Programs and program subcategories also have some unique features that allow them to have a parent-child relationship, where if you're building a program subcategory, it allows you to tell it what the program parent is so that that content automatically displays on that program page. So I am going to come in here to a landing page and show you.
While you're going there, I'm going to just let everybody know Sarah is from Southampton Roads. I'm going to pop their URL into the chat, so you can just take a look around her site if you want to simultaneously while she's doing this.
Sure. And while you're there, we're experiencing a very nasty little issue that is causing some page content not to display. So if you happen to
fantastic. A great day for a meetup.
please share that link, because we're tearing our hair out trying to get to the bottom of why this is happening. It affects the most critical pages on our site at any moment in time. So yeah. So if you're building a landing page, obviously you want to put a title here, and you'll want to select if it is a full width page or a one column page. I think that I find most often we use the full width page because of the way that our site is set up. But on the Virginia State Alliance page that I built, I typically use the one column page because the page looks better. It has better margins. So you'll just be able to explore and take a look, publish, take a look, change it, take a look. There are 3 areas that you add content to on a site. One is the header area. This is typically where I add something called a small banner. And what that is just a very small banner across the top of the website. We also use the
Sarah, where would be an example of that, like on the Southampton Road site?
Sure, yeah.
That would be, for me, I'm a visual learner, and I'm guessing there are a few others on the call too.
Sure.
Oh, thank you.
So here's one right here. So this is a small banner. And basically what I do is I drop an image in there, and I add the title. This particular page does not have the microsite menu, but let me just grab one that I know does. This is this menu right here underneath the small banner is a feature that I use a lot to build sections within the site. And Abby Tates, I'm not familiar with inner header banner, but what I've learned here in the last couple of weeks is that sometimes things are the same but named differently. I just haven't seen that one before, so I can't really answer that.
I'll pull that out, Abby, and make sure that I ask, because I don't know either, but I know someone who does, and we can get an answer for it.
Yeah. So really, with that small banner, this is where I would add that title that's displaying right here in the large white type on our site. This is where I would drop the image. We have worked with our developers to figure out all of the image sizes so that we're loading them to the library already sized and optimized. This color field is where I would set what the color is should this site be viewed on a mobile device. And right now this page is set where that color is black. And I don't usually use the description area very often, but that's just the header page. The content area is where I add the bulk of the content to the page. And there's a few different paragraphs. And really when you're building a page, you have your content type, which is the page type. But then everything that you add to the page is a paragraph. So this small banner is a paragraph. Down here, if I were to come here and I were to add something called simple content, this is just a basic WYSIWYG or HTML editor. You can look at it in source code. You can look at it just kind of like you would with a Microsoft Word document. Just paste right there. So you can paste from Google Docs. However, just a heads up. If you do paste from Google Docs, and I don't know why my content is bolding by default, probably because I did, you get a lot of this extra code that David Wells talked about last time that needs to be stripped out. So just be careful when you paste code. If you are able to, you should open it up in something like Simple Text or WordPad or one of those to try to clear out some of that extra stuff before you paste it in, just to avoid any unexpected issues. I thought about the content that you enter, especially in the section where you're adding the bulk of the text, is to make sure that you are considering readability and the grade level that you're, the average reading level of the people who are visiting your site. So we have a page on our site right here that had this copy right here. And I pulled it into a tool that I use called Hemingway app. So that, and Amber, if you want to paste the link to this, it's hemingwayapp.com. So I pasted that in there to take a look and see how readable it was. And what it says is it's a grade 13 readability. It has 2 adverbs, aim for 0 or fewer. You have passive voice in one of your sentences. One of your sentences is hard to read and one of your sentences is very hard to read. So taking that, and we knew that we had some issues with those pages, we came and we edited that in the Hemingway app for a while until we came to this. And now it's a grade 7 readability. It's 98 words instead of, I think, 140 words. And the copy is just far more direct, to the point, and more digestible for our users. So this was the before of that, and this is the after. I browsed away from it. This is the after. We just think that this is going to be more search engine friendly, and this is going to be easier for our parents who are buying childcare services from us. The other thing that we did on this page is we had typical Y language, connect, belong, achieve, but what we found is nobody's really searching for connect, belong, achieve. What they really want is safe, affordable childcare. And we also came in here in these first words right here, YMCA before and after school care focuses on. We used a tool called Google Trends, and we ran some tests based on a couple of different phrases just to see which phrases could be included on the site. One was after school childcare, one was school age childcare, and then one was after school care. And you can see which one performs better when you're using, this is, I'm just gonna drop that in there real quick. This is trends.google.com, and it's how we've made a lot of decisions for what we're gonna call things on our site as well. For example, when we were building our site, it was group exercise classes, group exercise schedules, group exercise everything. And what we learned is that people search fitness classes and not group exercise. So we changed that language on our website so that we would match what the people were saying. And the same thing goes here. So we will be changing after school child care to after school care on all of our pages after running this test. And you are also able to come in here and you're able to look at this regionally. And in some cases, you can get pretty local with it to see how the different search terms perform. And you can see definitely in our area, they're searching after school care. I just wanted to jump off real quick and add that note because readability is really one important consideration when you're building these pages. Another building block that we like to use is called grid content. And on this page here, this content right here in these white boxes are grid content. And we use that pretty heavily on our site as well. We do that to divide information so that it's visually digestible and also to help guide a user towards specific information on a topic. In this case, it's almost a little brochure where it's just really trying to put the information in a way that's really easily digested and understood. We also have created, and this is one of the pieces where we have begun to use web forms to build user experience and not just lead generation. We serve 7 different cities, and we serve schools probably in 10 or 12 different school districts. And it is just chaotic to try to let everybody know all of the schools we serve. David Balls was incredibly helpful with helping me understand how to make this work. And just with even 20 minutes of conversation to understand how they approached some stuff on their site, I was able to build this in one evening. And what we're able to do is just select the city, select the child's school, and then it'll take us to the page where we're going to get more specific information and be able to register with rates and fees and all of those things. And then we're able to take somebody directly to a registration. So we use web forms a lot as well. And
Sarah, is this the same logic that David Wells and the Middle Tennessee team used for their swim lessons progression? Okay.
It is, absolutely.
I'll pop a link. He did a quick webinar or conversation on that to everybody who's listening, and it's posted to YouTube. I'll grab that and pop it into the link. Back to you, Sarah.
Yeah, that's great. Because it was so incredibly helpful, and I think it's really going to be a game changer on our website because being in 2 states with so many cities, our information is never one message. So especially during a time right now where we have 2 different state guidelines that we're trying to work through for reopening. Another feature that we like to use, and I'm going to come to one of our location pages, is the gallery paragraph. And if you're in the back end of that, you would come down here and you would add a gallery. And once you do that, I don't know where it went. That is not what I was expecting. I must have that paragraph name wrong. I'm going to come here to one of our site web pages to see what I actually did use. This is an image slider paragraph that I am talking about that has just basically a virtual tour of what happens at this YMCA. I'm just going to come here and edit because I thought it was the gallery and it is not. I guess it is. I just didn't have any images loaded or that paragraph expanded enough to see what I was expecting to see there. So yes, it is.
Drupal.
So, and then based on one comment that Amber made, I've heard that there is some interest with how we integrated DAXGO to our site. And I want to find a page that explores that. So what we did when we were building our site, we were working off the old schedules template, and that has since changed and it's better now. But ours is still displaying in blocks like this. We were able to create an integration with DAXGO that pulls session information over into our website in near real time. It's not perfect, which becomes a little challenging when there's a high demand program, but it shows up on our site when registration opens. And what you're able to do is to see all of the different programs. They are ordered by program start date. It pulls in the session name, the location, the days of the week the program is happening, start and end dates, start and end times, and who this program is for. And is also searchable based on the DAXGO category library that you build in DAXGO operations. You're able to filter on locations here. And then specifically, if you're looking for something where you don't want every sport, you just want to find one sport in particular, I'm going to use karate. Since I know it will populate. Now it's filtered all the way down and then takes you out directly to the DAXGO registration page. So that is just a paragraph that we add on our site. And to add a paragraph on our site with that, it has YMCA SHR in the name because it is a customization. We're able to pre-select the categories that we want to display on that page. And if I were building a location-specific page, I would be able to select, we have all of our sites listed here as well. I would be able to select the location that I want search results to populate for as well. And then I could come here and further search by name and filter by that before I added that.
Sarah, you mentioned the customization. Can you talk a little bit about that for folks that are new to OpenY and what that means?
Sure. So when we were building our website, what we had on our old site was a manual process where we pulled a database out of DAXGO through a custom report, and then we manually uploaded that to our website, and then we ran a script that pulled it over into the website database so that the search results would populate. And OpenY didn't have the ability to do anything like that when we launched. So what we did, and what we wanted to avoid, was having to do that manually every week or every couple of days because there was a critical program that needed to be available for online registration. And we worked with our developers and said, here's the functionality that we need. How do you suggest that we approach this? How do we go about this? And we put together some mock-ups for how it would display based on the page templates that were available at the time. And then we worked through the details of, well, what information needs to come over and be displayed. And we settled on the integration that we have, which they built it for us custom, essentially. And we know there's been another integration that's been built that we're exploring too to see if that's a better use, if it integrates with DAXGO better than what we built. When we built this to DAXGO's first iteration of API 2.0 was available for about a week, and we joined in as an early adopter to try to develop this quickly. It was about 2 weeks before our site was launched, so we didn't have a lot of time to figure it out. We just had to get something that would pull that database over quickly. And we paid additional developer time to figure out how to build this and make the two systems talk to each other.
Thanks, Sarah. And we are working on some of you in the community may have heard of as the Activity Finder. Houston has a great example of that on their site if you want to take a look at that in action. But I'm going to pause because I want to get back to Sarah, so there's time for questions if anybody has any.
Sure. And then bottom area is another area where you can add additional paragraphs. I don't use it very often because on our site, the margins are set regardless of whether a page is full width or just one column. On the Alliance site, if I have something at the bottom of the page where I want it to go full width and not be constrained by side margins, then I need to place it in the bottom area. And as you explore, you'll learn kind of where you need to place things. One thing that I do definitely suggest, there are additional paragraphs that we don't necessarily use very often, but if something were to come up, like a link button or a breadcrumb menu or something like that, we just don't use those very often. But what I would suggest is before you get started, especially if you haven't started yet, and even after, when you know that there's updates coming out on the platform, spend as much time as you possibly can spare on the sandbox, because it will help bring your costs down for development if you understand better what the capabilities are already. Determine which customizations might be high priority for your UI. And it will also give you a really safe space to experiment and not worry about doing something in real time that might break something. So absolutely, definitely explore that as much as you possibly can. I can't say it enough. It's something that we didn't do at the beginning of our site, and there are things that we would have definitely done differently had we spent more time there. We were under pretty severe time crunch to get our site built from start to finish. I think that we had to enter all of our content in just a little over 3 weeks because we were on such an advanced time scale because our site software was being deprecated by the content management system provider. So I cannot emphasize enough that you should do that. And you do that by going to sandbox.openymca.org, I believe. Oh, there you go. Amber's already posted the link. So a lot of what we've talked about is just kind of the building blocks, where it's literally figure out what's going on your page, figure out how you want it to look, and then choose the appropriate paragraph that makes it look the way you want it to. And then I suggest continually looking at it in a desktop view, but also considering how much of your traffic on your site is mobile and making sure that you're looking at it in that view as well to make sure that it's still a good experience and if it's still the right paragraph type. I wanted to also talk about some of the data tools that I use, and I will go quickly through those because we are running a little bit short on time. But I use Google Analytics, and I look at the audience report at high level. I also look at the top 10 pages on it that our site has, the top 10 visited pages of our site, and I do this every week. And I'm also adding to my report pages with low traffic, because if there's an important page that has low traffic, I want to begin to understand why. This helps make some decisions about how we move forward and change our pages up. I also use a tool called Hotjar, and Hotjar has heat maps, and a heat map will just show you where users are clicking on your page. A lot of people click the login screen here. You'll see that there's not many clicks to our blog or any of that, but they kind of stay up the top of the page. You'll also see kind of how they scroll the page. And in a heat map, the redder the color, obviously the more view and traffic it has. And you can see that it's not unexpected that more people see the top of our page than the bottom. We also do some funnels just to see if people are following the paths that we think they're going to follow to get to a goal. And then because we are short on time, I'm just going to jump over here to our Google Search Console. And this is one of the ways that you can see how your site is performing with search, because that is definitely content related. And you can see what the queries are that are bringing people to your site. And if there's a query that you'd like to see in the top, you may find some areas of opportunity. What we find is that we perform best, obviously, when there's YMCA in the search. We don't perform as well when YMCA is not in our search, and that's something that we're working on. We're also working on our average position. We'd like that to be higher than 6. So that is kind
6 is still good. Congrats.
Is it? I really want to be 2 or 1. And so do all of my leaders. But this is just one, and I'm still learning this tool. I'm at the very beginning of my learning of this tool. You can see how COVID has affected our search traffic. But it's just another tool that I use to try to help guide how we're going to make decisions and how we change up some of that content on our pages. So that takes me to the end. I've rushed through those tools quickly, but are there any questions?
I have some if nobody else does, but I'm going to pause because I'm guessing there are folks who have questions. And if you do, you can either pop them into the chat or you can take yourself off mute and ask away.
Sarah, this is Kat Franchino over in Missoula, Montana. I really like that Daxco. I think it was the Daxco setup you all had where it was kind of gridded out almost. Was that a customization?
That was, yes.
Okay, thank you.
As we're waiting, Sarah, you mentioned 2 things that that I think a lot of us in the Y world wrestle with. Well, first, I'm going to see if there's a chat question because I will ask. Abby Tate says, Sarah, I aspire to your level. Bravo. Me too, Abby. You mentioned data and leadership. And so one of the things I think you do really well is keep your leadership informed and also use data to inform the content, which you've just shared. Like, can you talk a little bit about those conversations? And, because sometimes we end up doing things according to, well, this is what I think, or this is what I heard from a board member or somebody like that. How do you navigate those? So
one of the things that I do, I want to come here. I have not updated this in a while. So we've had a restructuring here and I am still my role changed too. It went from marketing generalist to more digital stream, which is great because it's really what I wanted to do. But one of the things that I did with this, because last year we were given some additional marketing money to run a test on marketing programs instead of just only marketing membership ever. So one of the things I did was I ran a weekly report for all of the different ads that we were running with that money. But what I did is I included some benchmarks that I found on WordStream so that they would have a frame of reference for what that click-through rate meant in terms of where everybody else was performing in the world. So that's one way that I try to help frame the conversation, because if you don't know anything about digital marketing and you hear that an ad click-through rate is only 2%, you're like, well, why are we doing so badly? Until you know that the benchmark is 0.46%. And then also it highlighted opportunities where we could be doing better. And one of the things that we learned, especially as the year wore on, is that our social marketing needs some improvement. It has some gains to make. Trying to see if I can scroll down. And I just updated this weekly and shared it with them. I'm just trying to do it in a very quick snap form. And then this is also where I said, here's the top pages this week.
Nice. The quintessential executive summary.
Yeah. I try to keep it as high level as possible. What I found is that they weren't necessarily so interested in it. What they were interested in is knowing that I was looking at it.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
And also it was incredibly helpful for us to pay attention to this, because it did help make decisions and be like, why isn't this working? What can we do to improve this? Let's make a change on this, because now we see a trend for the performance dip instead of just a 1 week dip, those kind of things.
Yeah. Well, and I think your approach to web content management is is different. Well, it's very different than, kind of the web content updates of 5 years ago, where it's like, oh, we built the web page, bye, and then we're off to the next thing. You are constantly looking at the care and feeding of your website and making tweaks based on what you're finding.
Yes, not as much as I would like, but that's what I'm.
Of course. So a couple of the tools that you mentioned, like Google Trends, is free. You can search it. The URLs are pasted into the chat. Google Analytics is also free. It's anonymized data, so you're not going to get, a lot of personalized information, but it is very easy to install on your OpenY website. I would, recommend that for sure. Hotjar is a paid service. And your Google Search Console, Sarah, can you just talk folks into, how you got that set up, in case they're not familiar with it?
Sure.
Is that a loaded question?
The short answer is I did it a while ago and I don't 100% remember.
And it's probably changed anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
Well, let me tell you that Hotjar is a paid service, but once you register with them as a nonprofit, it is free.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't know it either, and we paid $100 a month for it for a good year before I found that out.
Wow. Okay, so register as a nonprofit.
Yeah,
that's something. Okay.
Yeah, I think that Craig probably knew it, and I don't think that Minneapolis is paying for it for what that's worth. I think that he said it at a summit or something, and I heard it, and I was like, "What?" Just exactly like that. Okay. So Search Console, I don't remember exactly what we did. I probably signed up for an account and dropped our website URL in and said go, because we're a Google company and I have Google accounts for basically all of their apps. And one thing that I'm trying to do too is I'm trying to use Google's learning tools to run through Google Academy for all of their marketing tools so that we can use them to better effect.
Nice.
But
we're at time. Does anybody else have questions for Sarah before we go? And if you don't here, that's fine. If you do later, you can find Sarah on Slack frequently, on OpenY Slack. If you don't have access to that and you want it, just go to our website, openY.org, and go to the contact page. You can get links to Slack and the monthly calls where people like Sarah share great information. It's a really great way to stay connected to the community. And it looks like Sarah's looking through a few things. So for those of you that want to stay on, great. For those of you that need to leave and have a hard stop, thank you so much for joining us. And thanks, Sarah, for sharing your knowledge.
Sure. Yeah, so I'm trying to add the Virginia YMCA Alliance, which is not a high traffic site, but it looks like you just dropped the domain in, and then it's going to give you a bit of text record content to copy over into your DNS setting. So if that is something that you have the ability to manage, I do. I am going to just do that right now, if that's cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
That's cool. If you guys need to stop, I can do this offline. But
no, I'll walk through it with you.
Answer that. Oh no. Oh, type it. It's like typing in a live format is challenging.
Yes, always. So I just have a question from a learning process perspective. I mean, I know that you're a natural learner and curious, and how did you evolve as a digital person? Because you didn't start out as a digital person, right?
I did not. I started as a graphic designer.
That's what I thought. And you still do that very well, but you probably won't be able to do that much anymore.
No, it's not. It's no longer in my portfolio. So really, if I'm doing it, it's only because I want something that I'm doing to look right. So honestly, the way that I have learned is I usually bump into a problem and I have to figure out how to solve it. So for example, I'm getting a really good technical education this week with this challenge. Somebody had mentioned at the beginning of this that they thought that it was
a clone issue?
around cloned issues, and I am cloning content left and right because we're trying to get content up so fast about reopening.
And
And
who are you working with on it for a solve?
so I'm working with FFW, and then I've also
Okay.
been screaming for help in the developers channel.
Okay, good. Yeah. Are you getting help?
Yeah, they are. They
Okay,
did jump
cool.
in and made some suggestions. I think that we have some problem with the way that our application is set up on our host. Our host ran an audit on it and recommended some changes, a couple of which are critical. And I wonder if there is something to that. But I find it interesting that somebody else has experienced this and it was related to the clone feature. I want to add that to the thread.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly who that was.
I don't either. It just said why, and so I wasn't sure. And they have already left. So
bummer.
yeah.
They think it's interesting that they think it's connected to the clone because I have been using that very heavily, and I've been trying to find the pattern because I haven't been able to find a pattern. But anyways,
Okay.
yeah. Anyways, if you have access to that, it's basically just register the domain with Search Console and then drop a text record on your DNS.
Okay.
Make sure I'm on the right domain.
I know one person on this call who will probably be looking that up immediately, Andrew Bylander.
Yeah.
Nice.
Uh-oh. I hope that went through.
Oh, he's already doing it, of course. I'm like, I know he's doing it.
Nice. Yeah. And I still have a lot to learn about this tool. It's one of my recurring low priority tasks that gets pushed forward when the days get busy, but it's Search Console education.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Wow, Sarah, I learn something every time I talk to you. This has been such a magical bit of learning for a half an hour. And I guess it's 35 minutes. Thank you so much. I'm really glad we recorded this because this has actually been a really fantastic, just 101 sort of, here are all the things that you should look at when you're, updating a web page or building a web page. And I think there's the basics and the how-to of putting it together. But I love how you brought in the data and, considering word choice and having a user focus instead of perhaps a branded, a Y branded focus, which there are ways to do both, but that's where I think like you using it's the art of mixing data and content.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really is. All right. Well, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for doing this. Totally appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. All right.
Bye.